Kevin's giving me a roadmap on how to be successful and look at how he prepares for a weekend or how he works within his team.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cup Connection. I'm Mike Massaro. We've got a great guest today, a guy that I've known for quite some time, who's raced at the same places where I kind of grew up in Connecticut. That's Ryan Preece. You see him on the screen there. We're going to talk with Ryan in just a minute. But before we do, just want to remind everyone, hit like, hit subscribe. We want you to be part of this Cup Connection family as soon as possible. And speaking of family, Ryan Preece feels like it because he's a Connecticut guy, like myself, a modified guy, like myself. Great to have you here, Ryan. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, like us modified fans, we love our local racing. We love everything about Connecticut. And then even when it comes to food, whether it's pizza in New Haven or wings somewhere in the state of Connecticut, we like supporting locals. So definitely enjoy coming here to Connecticut and gonna check out some modified racing while I'm here.
Yeah, checking out the modified racing. I mean, there's a modified race at New Hampshire. I looked at the entry list. You're not on it. I was shocked.
Yeah, with age, I just, I like racing with my father, and it was just one of those things where when I go race, I enjoy the process and setting the car up and doing the whole thing, and I just didn't have time to do it this year, and unfortunately, but at the same time, I'm putting all that extra time and focus into the cup racing, into the cup career, and hopefully this weekend we can be really fast and qualify up front and hopefully try to win that race and sneak into the playoffs.
How much have you been looking forward to this one?
A lot. There was probably three to five races that I was really anxious to go do this year. One of them being LA, which I felt like was a success. Martinsville, Bristol Dirt, believe it or not, I was looking forward to that one. And then New Hampshire is here. This was the one that I said, hey, when we go there, we can sneak our way in. I feel really confident about this. So, I put a lot of emphasis on this weekend, and I know Chad Johnston and our crew, we've taken the extra time and all looked at all the little details that I want and need in a car for Loudon. So feel very anxious and ready to go.
And so Chad, great guy to work with. He's worked with a lot of young drivers. I know Taylor Gray was who he worked with last year in the ARCA series. Had some good success there working with you this year. What's it been like working with Chad?
Him and I are two peas in a pod when it comes to racing. We have the same thoughts when it comes to what we need or want, how we are as people. We just, it's a relationship that's really, it started off great because we won our first race together. And ever since then, just, the conversations we have, whether they're, about racing or not, they're just easy to have. And when you have a crew chief driver relationship like that, they're usually really successful. And I feel like we're rebuilding the 41 team, and we've definitely been getting it better and better every single week, and I'm excited for these next 18 races.
So rebuilding, that's interesting you bring that up. I was just thinking about Stewart-Hass Racing as a whole. Losing Kevin Harvick next year. That's a huge loss for that organization, of course, when it comes to just intellect, understanding the sport, understanding the racetracks, things like that. Now it's going to be a younger group of drivers, yourself included. What's that going to be like over at Stewart-Haas next year?
Well, I think it's just Kevin's giving us all, or, I feel like Kevin's giving me a roadmap on how to be successful and look at how he prepares for a weekend or how he works within his team. And, I feel like I've learned so much in the past 4 months of what I need to do as a driver to take the initiative to be prepared. It's more than just showing up and driving. There's a lot of preparation you can do as a driver to be ready for a weekend like that. And then at the same time, to make sure that you're communicating and keeping everybody in the team, in the same loop. So, as far as all that goes, I'm just trying to soak it up like a sponge and make sure that next year, I'm prepared and we can keep growing, because I feel like we've done a good job. Our short track program's been good. Our super speedway program's been good. We've been working on the mile and a half stuff, and I feel like we've been trending in the right direction. We're just working on putting all the puzzle pieces together. That way we can just start executing and getting these weekends done and having something to show for what the speed has been over the past 6 weeks.
You talked about your relationship with Chad, and it's just amazing to me. I look at the people that are at Stewart-Haas, and they're so much like you, Ryan, at least in my eyes. You guys have a lot of similar personality traits between yourself, Kevin, Tony Stewart, Greg Zipadelli, who, I mean, basically you're from the same hometown. I would imagine there's a lot of character traits that carry over there. Just that chemistry there. What's that like for you?
Yeah, so a lot of people, you go to different. I've gone to a lot of different teams, right? And this team to me reminds me of being at home, at whether it was my race shop or the Pryor Brothers in Berlin, or going to those shops where you can. I mean, I can just spend hours hanging out, finding something to do. It doesn't matter where I am. I could sit and talk with somebody. I could go down into the shop, into the fab shop, or over see the pit crew guys. It's not a place that once you show up, you don't know what to do and you kind of feel useless or whatever it may be. It's a great organization that I want to be around because it's full of racers. It's full of people, whether they're from Indiana, Ohio, or the Northeast, or, out West. It's full of a bunch of racers, and it's an atmosphere that I really enjoy being around.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they're from. I mean, you guys seem like you think alike. It really does. I mean, you guys are hardcore racers. I mean, every one of them. So that's what I've noticed.
Yep. And that, there is no end of the workday for a lot of people at SHR, right? 4:00, they don't punch out. If something needs to get done, they stay till, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I know my own 41 team, Chad, that entire team, when we raced Sonoma with that ARCA car, that was them, staying late and making sure they got everything done. So it really, as an organization, we're a bunch of racers.
All right, I'm going to move on here a little bit. You talked about it yourself, the races you had circled on your calendar this year. I got to go back to Martinsville. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat watching you. You win the pole, you lead a bunch of laps. Obviously, it didn't turn out the way you'd like. Have you been able to kind of just compartmentalize what happened there and build on that?
Yeah, that comes to details, right? I remember earlier on in that day, I walked pit road. I knew from what I understood, I didn't think that I could speed leaving pit road, but apparently I was able to accomplish that. So, those are just things that I don't like making mistakes. And, I'm not perfect by any means, but that moment when we gave up control of the race, that was just, we had such a fast car and passing was not easy. Dirty air was a real thing. And, when I think back to that race, I felt like we were able to, if we couldn't win that race, we were going to run top 3. And, just unfortunately that happened. So moving forward, that's where we added into our pre-race stuff as far as details, timing lines. If your pit box is here, can you speed? Can you not? We've been cleaning up our process, and it's taken us 18 or so races to really perfect, or you can't even say perfect until you win, but keep working on those details. Make sure that when you have another day like that, you don't give it away.
Yeah, something you can build on. Absolutely can learn from that. Hey, so one part of this show here, Ryan, is that we take questions from our audience through social media and what have you. We got one question here, and it's from Facebook, and it's from Rob. And Rob asks, and I'm trying to understand the question. He wants to know if you would support a format where you would have the race not necessarily broken up into stages like it is now, but have it broken up into the small little segments where there'd be an elimination process, and then you'd get to like the final, let's say 50 laps or so, and you'd have only the top 10 drivers still competing for the win. Would you consider a format like that? It seems out there, but hey, man, there's a lot of things on the table these days.
I think that would get pretty boring, those last 50 laps. You only had 10 cars, right?
All right, I'm making that number up. Let's say it's 20 cars.
Yeah. I don't think we need to do something like that. I think if we had to go to that extent to keep it exciting for race fans, then we might as well just shorten races and create the excitement within, because our races are marathons, right? There is, when we look at races, stage 1 and stage 2 are opportunities to continue to make your car better. And then stage 3, everybody's given it everything they have. I thought it was it was different, the dynamic, when everybody found out that it was going to rain in Atlanta and everybody started racing really hard to get to halfway, right? And it created this different sense of urgency. So even though we do have stages and they do pay stage points, there's nothing like that sense of urgency when you know the race is coming to an end. So for me, I wouldn't personally like something like that. I would personally like shorter races if that was the decision between either of those.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, speaking of which, what was Chicago like for you?
Yeah, so Chicago, man, I was extremely impressed with the track, everything about Chicago, and I thought it was a successful event. I never have done a street course before, and it was challenging. There was a lot of challenges, not only to try and pass cars or around other people, but not to hit inside walls, right? I think we saw many of us when you were trying to get too aggressive or get too much, if you hit that inside wall, you paid the price. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looked fun. It looked interesting. Street race in the rain. Cool. It definitely opens up some doors for some other possibilities down the road, we hope. Hey, I just want to talk to the audience real quick. Just a reminder, folks, you just heard us ask a question from one of our audience members. Please, throughout the course of the next few weeks, as you're watching Cup Connection, please send us your questions. We'd love to ask the drivers. And if you haven't checked out Cup Connection before, make sure you go back and look at some of the previous interviews we have done. That would include Kyle Petty last week. Always very outspoken, but he gave some really great insight on what it was like growing up as a Petty. We've also had some great drivers on here as well, as we have Ryan Preece here with us once again. Let's get back to Ryan real quick. Hey, man, I know it's a big week. We're talking about the Cup Series, but Ryan Preece coming back to New England, we have to talk about modifieds. We absolutely have to. So just curious. So growing up as a young modified driver, I'm sure, obviously before that with your family being involved in the sport, you were a fan. In your opinion, who's the best modified driver to come out of New England? There's a lot of big names. I know you're going to say Richie, but there's some other big names out there too.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. For somebody like me, I wasn't around during the Richie Evans era, right? So I didn't get to witness it visually. And it's really hard to just put one, but if you're going to go statistically, Mike Stefanik is the guy that you'd have to say is one of the most accomplished racers to come out of New England, right? And some of the accomplishments that he did during his time were really impressive. So to me, I'm biased. I think modified drivers are the best, and there's a lot of us out. It's hard for me to just pick one, but statistically right now, what Mike Stefanik did was extremely impressive.
Did Mike help you along your career?
Mike was definitely somebody that I rubbed Nerf bars with, and believe it or not, those moments, I was probably that not punk kid, but I certainly was aggressive, and he, with some of the run-ins that we did have, it helped me learn how to tame and control that aggressiveness. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely moments of racing against him that he took me to school, and I brought my lunch for when he did.
Well, he's brought a lot of people to school. He did. I was lucky enough, obviously, to watch Mike. I'm a little older than you, Ryan, so I did see Richie, and you did miss out. He was incredible. Well, hey, Ryan, we're going to let you go. We know you have a very busy homecoming week. We appreciate you joining us here on Cup Connection.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right. Folks, thank you once again for joining us here on the show. We hope we hope you join us each and every Friday where we have Cup Series regulars on with us each week. That's all we got for now. Enjoy the race this week in New Hampshire.